All right, 3, 2, 1. What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Business and Biceps. And you better wake your ass up, because on today's show, we're going to talk about business, loyalty, some LeBron. I think Mo's got something to say about that.
I was right.
Here. I think John's fired up.
Hey, I'm loyal.
What's in his world? You're loyal, John.
I am loyal.
You're extremely loyal.
Thank you.
Which is why I wanted to be your business
I appreciate
partner.
that. Thank you.
Hey, today's episode is brought to you by a new sponsor, Design Crowd.
Very
if you
nice.
want over 600,000 designers to work on your project,
I do.
John does.
Yes.
From Sydney to San Francisco, Maurice.
Okay, there we go.
Hey, if you're gonna get a logo, this is where it's at. Design Crowd /biceps. We'll tell you about it, later in the show.
Indeed.
So, John, I'm not even gonna go any further. I'm just saying, John Bosco. What's going on in your world?
Oh man, you're throwing me right into
in the
it.
fire,
Okay.
John.
So
right in the fire.
All right, fine. So you got to understand the pressure is mounting on me to kind
show.
of
To
one up
deliver.
myself here. This
Come on,
is
motherfucker.
you know what? But I like pressure, so it's
I
okay.
know you do.
So I'm gonna take everybody through something that I think we all have experienced in the past 5 years. It's when you got a problem with your cable, right? Or your debit card's not working. Right?
I don't know what it's called.
Okay, listen to me. Your debit card's not working, or there's an issue with a power outage, and you call some large company, and you just want to talk to somebody, right? Because you just need to talk to somebody because you're just like, dude, that game I want to watch is fucking on, or better yet, I want to be able to cook, and there's no fucking power here, and that fucking rainstorm that lasted for 20 minutes can't be that strong, and you call someone, and you wait on hold, and when you get to someone, you hear like, hello, Mr. Fosico, and I'm like, hey, who is this? Well, Mr. Fosico, I work for ComEd Power. I'm like, hey, can you put someone on the phone I can talk to? And they're like, I work for ComEd Power, Mr. Fosico. I'm like, my name is Fosco, lady. My name is Fosco. And if you can't pronounce my name, how the fuck you gonna help me?
Yeah.
Okay. So when there's companies that control these massive spaces, whether it be energy or cable and internet, why can't they get people? If you're going to outsource shit, outsourcing is something that's been debated for a long time. But if you're going to outsource shit, outsource to companies that have American-speaking fucking people. And if that sounds bad or comes off wrong, I'm sorry. But when I speak to somebody about a problem I have that I'm paying for, that is basically holding back part of my life for a moment, I don't want to talk to someone who can't even fucking say my name. And then when I explain the problem to them, they literally don't understand what I'm saying. And I'm like, this is what we get when businesses get too big, and literally there's no democracy in the business, right? Because what can you do when you move to an area that just offers AT&T for cable, or just offers Comcast, or just offers ComEd for power?
And that's what it's come to.
You can't do a goddamn thing.
Nothing.
Okay? So there's no democracy in that business. I don't have free market choice, and I'm stuck talking to somebody who I truly cannot understand, who's probably in Indonesia or the Philippines, who's never graduated fucking high school, and who's been trained via fucking GoToMeeting, and that's not what I need when I have a problem. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I just look at the broader thing. It's like, you cannot keep treating customers that way, because when there is an issue, again, with the debit card or cable or your power, you need relief. And if these people can't understand you, you'll never get relief. But how do we deal with these businesses that are so large, so powerful, and they play this game, dude? Here's the game. You know what? Antica or whatever your name is, can I speak to your supervisor? They put you on hold for 30 minutes.
Yes, sir.
And they put you on hold for 30 minutes for a reason.
So you get to
because they
give up.
want you to hang up. And then if you're
They're
me,
waiting you out.
and then if you're fucking
Yeah.
me, I'll wait sometimes. And then when you get to fucking Antica's supervisor, her supervisor can speak less English than Antica can. And you tell her the problem, and she ain't helping you at all. And then you got to try to climb the ladder. And every time, this is an equation. Every time their equation is to get the customer to hang up before they get serviced. And if you think about that as a businessman, and this is business and biceps, it's like, what does this world come to when the strategy of a business that services millions and makes billions is to frustrate their customers and to waste their customers' time to a degree that makes them so angry and frustrated to the point where they just say, fuck it. I'm not going to call.
Yeah, I don't think they care, though, because they realize that that's the only option. The regulations have made it so, like, I know exactly what you're talking about, because I moved to an area when we first came back to Columbus, and I came from Omaha, you can pick, different cable providers. You come to one place, just like you say, you have one provider. The exact situation, I call to the AT&T. When I call, like, literally, I went through the exact same thing. I was the person who was like, fuck this ain't worth my time, and I just hung up the phone. But then I had to get up and go down the street to the actual store, and then I went to the store, and they had to go through all of the rigor. But, you done wasted 3, 4, 5 hours over fucking cable. And so I think psychologically what they're doing is to hope at some point that the guy's not going to get up, go in his car, go down the street, or waste a half a day doing this. But I can empathize with you.
But as businessmen, it's like, I'll take this to a super broad topic and then I'll bring it right back here. It's like every time period in the history of the world, an empire has ruined itself because they got greedy, right? And when companies that have all the power, whether it be on Capitol Hill or all of our money, start treating your own people, right, Americans, like that, they're tearing away at the fabric, at the financial and social fabric of our country, and they're upsetting people, and they're doing it simply because they can. But no business was ever started with that mission. Whoever founded that business that's doing billions now, they'd be rolling over in their grave fucking with a shotgun if they saw that a strategy from some executive that's being paid $50 million a year is to get people so frustrated with their business that they hang up because they can't do shit about their business. And then you compare it to, let's compare it to the airline business. Whenever I call Delta or United, what they do is they say, hey, wait time is 48 minutes. If you want to leave your phone number and name, we will call you back. That is, that's free enterprise. That shows me you care about my time. You respect my time. And how hard is it to manage that? It's so simple. Yep. When my time is up, you call me, and then I got you. Don't waste my fucking time. But they have to compete with the other airlines. These cable companies that have a monopoly on your area don't have to compete with anybody. So they operate like the mafia.
They do.
Dude.
If shit's slow, they just tell you to deal with it.
I mean,
but we can't accept that. Like we just can't accept that people do that to us. And I get so frustrated because it's like, well, I have to accept it, but I shouldn't fucking have to accept it. I guess I should fucking move to Europe or something. I don't know.
All right, Johnny. And my topic today is I was listening to Earl Nightingale today, Mo, which is one of your favorites.
My favorite dudes.
And, he said something that really kind of struck a topic that I want to talk about was visualization versus worrying. I think there's a lot of people that worry, right? There's few people that visualize. They're both essentially the same synthetic brain experience. You create them both.
100%.
And so if you're a person that's listening right now and you worry, and then after you worry and you worry more, eventually, people make themselves sick. The self-doubt creeps in. They, pull themselves out of situation because they're worried about something that hasn't even happened yet, right? And what he was doing was making the point is that instead of doing that, why wouldn't you shift that to visualize how you want it to be or what it could be? And it really comes back to just a way that your brain works, and you can shift it either way you like. A lot of these things I do naturally, but it always is good to then hear somebody put it in that type of reference, because if I do start to feel that other way, I, grab it and switch it the opposite way. But I would say it's more natural for people to worry first and
Freudian
not visualize. Pee-pee. John, not your pee-pee. So I think that right there was like just a huge takeaway for people that are listening right now to say, look, like instead of sitting around thinking about stuff you can't change that hasn't happened yet, why don't you visualize how you want it to happen?
But I would say that, see, I think that, and this was something that I got from Earl Nightingale, just listening to his material over the years, even have an understanding that you have the power to control how you feel.
Exactly.
And I think that, and even as you're talking to this, I probably got, if I have a little iPad with me, I probably got 8, 9 of his books that I religiously listen to. He says everything in a practical way that, you create the world, that you live in. But I think the first start of that, if I'm listening to this, is just to even understand that I have the power to choose how I want to feel. You know what I'm saying? Like something that initially happens to me, it may cause an initial feeling, but I can take that initial feeling and shift it and decide to do whatever I want to with it. I can continue to get on the worry train, or I can,
the worry train.
Yeah.
My grandfather told me a long time ago when I was young, he's like, if it's out of your control, worrying and crying about it ain't going to do nothing for you. Straight up.
I think the most overused statement in relation to this that people say, and they really need to understand how wrong it is whether it be to someone they're close to or anybody, you make me feel like it's completely false, because how you feel, like you said, is a choice. And when you say to someone, you make me feel like, nobody has the power to make you feel anything. It's your choice to feel any certain way, and you actually got to look within if somebody literally has the power to affect you like a puppet. I mean, we've talked about it a lot on the show, but it's like, dude, no, like if I fuck with your head and I fucking put you in a fucking space that's all fucked up, that's on you, man. You should be able to control your fucking mind and put some stops in place so no one can just fuck with your head and fuck up your day. That's on every individual.
Until I graduated to that space that you're talking about, I can say to a large part I used to think like that. That if somebody did something to me, I was supposed to feel that I feel like shit because John did something to me, or prime example,
people rent space in your mind.
Ohio State kicked me out of school, so they made me feel like this. You know what I'm saying? Right. And I think there's a lot of people, John, like when I say a lot of people, there may be like probably 98% of the people on this podcast listening who believe like that if that happens, I'm supposed, or I have the right, or I don't even know, you know what I'm trying to say?
But yeah, when you bring up Ohio State, you tell me if you believe this is correct. It's like, Ohio State kicked me out. I'm upset about it, but you know what? It's over. Deep breath. Time to move forward and figure out what I have to do. The reason I bring that up is because it's what you have to do anyways.
Yes, but I can't. But to say this, I can't say that I got to that point for years.
Sure,
and that's why when you were saying that, I think that not even I know because I actually did it. Like you just walk around feeling guilty. You be like, okay, the convenient way or the justification for feeling this way is because that happened. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so the whole
Use that as
world
a crutch,
collectively thinks like that.
Loser's mentality, though.
It's the loser's mentality, 1,000,000%. But it wasn't until you go back, you be like, I told you, like me, just impactful. One of the best things that happened to me as a man thinketh by James Allen. Like Earl Nightingale takes from a lot of that book. And like, oh, you can control how you feel. Like, oh, I don't have to feel like this. And when you just start engineering the process, like taking ownership of your life, there's not a lot. People believe that there's a bunch of circumstances and events that happen every day, and how these things magically happen from the world. They don't understand that people create lives. You know what I'm saying?
People create everything.
They create
I always
everything.
Say nothing happens. We
Everybody-
create it.
and we create it, yeah. And so, like, I got to say, I used to be on the that train or that mentality where I thought that, hey, everything that happens to me, I have to accept it. But 1,000,000%, it took me years to get to that space to be like, man, you own your reality. And once you got there, you're like, oh shit, I do. I like kind of create all of my shit. That's even a birthing process mentally
Absolutely.
to even get through and understand and grasp. And like I can even say in my own household, like that dynamic between me, my lady, and my daughter, like even get my lady to believe like something will happen, and
Right.
she'll jump straight to the worrying space, right? And then in my head, I'll be like, all right,
That was
you know what I'm
natural
saying?
for Rachel too.
You know, it sounds like hocus pocus to people. I always say hocus
Well, that's why.
pocus.
That's why I think this kind of frame of reference is the start of it. I think if you can
Yeah.
recognize the worrying and say no, instead of me worrying about what might, coulda, shoulda, I think will happen, why don't I visualize what I want? Why don't I take, my thoughts with intention and what I want to happen? And I think that starts you down the train of all these things you're talking about. Because to jump from being a worrier to what you just said is a long
It's a path,
ways.
man.
It's a path.
Absolutely.
So I just think I just wanted to kind of make people aware of that's what kind of was in my brain working today. I think it's a good, kind of practice if you notice that this is how you operate to maybe think of
Yeah.
a different way. So it'd be good. Mo, throw it to you, brother. What you got?
Yeah, so I wanted it was a good question posed. Who would I like to meet and have a conversation with that I haven't? And that was a very easy thing. And it was Dr. David Hawkins. He was a guy that I read a bunch of his material in prison. And he actually has a retreat that I've thought about going on a few different times out in Sedona, Arizona.
Oh,
Sedona's beautiful.
That's
I've been there.
spot.
Yeah, so I've never been. I was in,
Energy.
John knows all the
You-
spirits
you-
there.
You can feel the energy when you go there for
Yeah.
real.
so he's like in
I
a
wonder why it's like that.
he has a spiritual campground that he basically lives at. He's a non-thing guy. But this was the first guy that I like deeply read about when he started talking about consciousness and where you vibrate and the importance of your energy and how thoughts manifest and just being disconnected, like just looking at life and functioning for life in a spiritual state. And obviously that's what basically brought me into even for me to even have an eye for A Course in Miracles. You know what I'm saying? And so like, as much as I get out here and love the hustle, and I think that, I think you always said business is a game. I think as much as I like to play the game of business, there's a euphoric feeling that I had in prison and post-prison that I get when you start to think about life being lived in a spiritual state and not so much from let me get this thing or let me compete against you or let me, get into the barbaric mind state. You know what I'm saying? And it was a lot of stuff. You got to figure out. I was reading these books at 24, 25, 26. I'm 34 now. So I'm pretty sure I would perceive a lot of the information probably totally different. Even to that fact, I think that he's probably grown. So he probably, like anything else, I'm pretty sure if anybody writes books, just as you make music, the more you write, the better you'll get. So
We're better than entrepreneur now.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
Johnny.
We definitely have better audio.
Yeah. But you know what I'm saying?
We've grown a little since then.
Just a bit.
But yeah, I mean, I guess that's the only deal. I would love to just sit down, and I wouldn't even steer the conversation. I would just listen to him. You know what I'm saying? And listen and talk where needed talk. But I just think when you dedicate your life, I think to even, that was 2000. No, that was 2008, 9, 7 that I was reading that material. You know what I mean? And he had wrote that material, probably 10 years before that. He was reading Power versus Force.
What's
Force.
like the cliff notes of
And what's the main
his
book?
ethos?
The cliff notes, Power versus Force, were literally talking about just the origination of thoughts, right? I didn't know thoughts existed into space and the kinesiology behind things coming to your life, and just the mechanics of thought, and how from a forceful standpoint, ego drives force. Ego forces me to do things. From a power standpoint, it says power is subtle. Like power is subtle. You don't need to move it. You don't need to force it. Like confidence and not from a vain standpoint, but he would just like not functions. He distinguishes the behaviors and the perspectives based upon his scales of consciousness, and he just talks about like the ultimate high is to get enlightened and not need anything other than just to be in a constant state of bliss, and you're always trying to get to where you just need nothing.
Power versus force.
Power versus force. And then so transcending levels of consciousness was the walking stick to get you there. Like, okay, John, this is how you vibrate. And so people who are more conscious or people who vibrate at a high level like tend to like art a lot, right? Like this is just the basic, like, and that's why when he digs into pictures, and you can find an appreciation, and you're not like a thing person, but you can appreciate you can appreciate art, you know what I'm saying? And then I guarantee you, if you got on a scale and you looked at a bunch of the behaviors, you would identify with them, you know what I'm saying? But he talks about as you go forward and you become less detached from things, just a state of living in your mind, a state of being peaceful, a state of being in bliss. He also talked a lot about not having to process information. So just as much as like sometimes like thinking too much, right? He was like, you don't need to think to breathe. And he was like, life should be like that. Just as you breathe, you should think. And he was like, a lot of things should be driven off of feeling. And he said you should be so connected to your inner being that you should feel what's good and what's not good for you, and not be driven off of, is this going to make me money or not? Like, no, this is not going to make me feel better. He has another book on truth versus falsehood and things that are like in living in truth. Like to go back to A Course in Miracles, nothing real can be threatened, that not real exists. And so he's basically telling you like that the falsehoods are just things that don't exist, things that like the worrying, we make it up in our mind. That shit doesn't exist. You know what I'm saying? What exists is this real thought in regards to what I want to do. And so obviously he was a lot more articulate with words and deeper in thought. And he has these retreats. And even when I was looking at these retreats, I said, man, I would go just to experience it.
You should
know what I'm saying?
How
Absolutely.
much does he want for the retreat? What's the price tag?
No, this is like $700. This is like,
Oh, yeah,
man, this is
no, you
like,
should
no,
go.
this is like some, like, just the point what I'm saying was when you see the price tag, this is not like no
Capitalist.
Nah, this is not like, hey, let me throw you in the, you know what I'm saying, in the tent where it's 1,000 degrees and charge you $1 million.
Right.
You know, it's not none of that shit. This is like, man, if you want to come out here and heal your spirit, and it's just all about teaching and teaching and teaching. But it's teaching. It's not like, hey, let me teach you and sell you something.
Right.
It's this is how I live my life. And now if you want
to join in the party,
but then you respect it. Okay, your books are $30. Like I don't care about paying $30 for a book, but like you could tell his books are like densely populated. And when I was in prison, so like, you know, I just even anybody who's read books, you know, like you'll read a book and then you get to like the last, you know, quarter of it, you'll be like, oh, they ran out of steam, so this is filler information. You know what I'm saying? Like you can look through all of his shit from start to finish. My man has really, you know, put together material. And then when I got out of prison, and in 2010, this was after that because I didn't really know about YouTube until about like 2013, 2014. I started going on YouTube, you know, clicking on his videos, and he was just teaching and teaching and teaching and teaching. And so I haven't, you know, he's not a religious guy. He doesn't, you know, he's not, hey, I'm anti-Christian or anti-Muslim. He's just a spiritual guy that speaks about spiritual information, and that's interesting to me. You know what I mean? I think that, you know, he's just in a different space in life. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you can get so caught in the pop culture. Just think about this, right? I turned on my Facebook thing today on a feed, and whether I wanted to or not, I was forced to look at people taking LeBron's sign down in Cleveland. And I just thought to myself, I'm like, man, what if I don't even want to look at this shit? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But I'm forced to look at it. But now I'm forced to have a conversation on it. I'm forced for it to be.
We're about to force you in a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. But this is the thing, you know what I'm saying? But ask yourself from a broader perspective, how much of other things in life are forced into you that you don't even want to do, but you have to participate in because.
Right. Just what it is.
That's what I mean. Just like the cable deal, you're forced into it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, forced into the shitty customer service. All right, it's time to take questions.
Yep.
Sedona's crazy, John. You feel it like
you literally feel different there. Period. Anybody did. My whole family did.
I've only been there once, but it was trippy, and I don't got skills like you got skills.
Very few do.
Yes, I'm aware, Fosco. I'm aware.
All right. Question number 1. At age 20, should I feel guilty about working so hard for opportunities at work if it means not seeing my family?
Ooh, John, you want to start off? I already know it. This motherfucker.
Bro, you're 20. When I was 20, I was fucking masturbating and getting drunk. Okay? Like, you're working hard And listen to me. Listen to me. Your family. You're 20. You're fucking 20. Like I was fucking seeing Martians at the age of 20 and fucking going to bed at 5 a.m. It's like you are so far ahead. If you're asking this question, you are so far ahead of your peers. And if you stay on a consistent path that you sound like you're already on, your family not only will understand it, but they will be rewarded in many ways for your hard work, and you will reward them, and you'll be able to provide them and yourself with a great life. So at the age of 20, kudos to you for being in a position to even ask this question. But just do your best to balance it and make some time for your family. But dude, do not feel bad. You have to establish you. You have to establish your life. You have to establish yourself. And you ultimately have to go succeed like you want to succeed. And if you're doing that at 20, that's a heavier golf clap than I normally give, okay? That's my fucking answer.
I love the answer, and that you also fit in masturbating and Martians all into
the
that.
same.
Hey,
It's
this is
fucking
what was
amazing.
going on back then.
It was
you know?
amazing, John
There's
Fosco.
a lot of other stuff I can't talk. Maybe I
know.
can't talk about.
So when I was 20, I actually had already met my wife, which was my girlfriend at the time. And so I had this conversation even before she tried to have the conversation with me. I said, yo, check this out. If you're signing up for my program,
Yeah, sign up for the Corey G program.
you're signing up for my program,
This is
here's
what
what
it
the
is.
deal
It
is.
ain't at the barbecue.
It ain't at the barbecue.
Outdoor
All my
barbecue.
friends are drinking keg beer. I'm running off flyers at Kinko's while they're at the bar. This is my program. I'm about to put in 10, 15, 20, whatever it takes, and we will live the way we want to live. If you want to sign up for that program, whether you're in college or not, this is what's happening, and I'm in. And so that's it. It was real plain and simple. Whether you believe it or not believe it, this is what's about to go down. You want to go along for the ride? Sign up for it.
Yeah, I mean, my opinion is
So I didn't feel bad. That's my answer.
It's the same thing in my opinion. You shouldn't feel bad. I don't even know how to say it. You just shouldn't feel bad. It's not nothing to feel bad about.
Especially at 20.
Yeah, but it don't matter what age you are. If you like put it like this, I think one of the best things that you can do for anybody to like, and let me say it like this. I'll add on to what you all said. One, I agree with everything you all saying, but like to have a focused mind on something, like just as I get older, to understand the benefits of that. To understand the benefits of being able to say, "Hey, I'm chasing this thing," or "I'm focused on something." You have adults now who into their clear 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s who wish they had one thing to chase and the time to develop it and the time to work on it. And it's not to say like so. I think we need to break this narrative up too, that just because you work a lot don't mean you don't love your family. And just because I can't spend, 8 hours a day with my family doesn't mean I don't love my family. It just means I don't have the time spent. But I think oftentimes we're having conversations about things that are norms in society where, John, you work 8 hours a day, you go spend 8 hours with your family, then you sleep 8 hours, and people gauge their success off of that.
But you know what, Mo? Most of these guys, I honestly, I'm going to call some people out. They usually aren't spending the 8 hours with their family. They usually have extracurricular stuff. It's usually
Other
still so like I'm either working, I'm lifting or working, and then I have family time. I don't really watch TV. I might watch a game here and there, but at the end of the day, like most of the people that are, I think, complaining about this stuff, they're still having a small amount of family time. It's just the extracurricular shit is sucking up that extra time. And so that's what I've noticed mostly, and I've called people out on it before, like, yo, then why are you playing in 4 softball leagues?
Yeah.
I mean, why? You know what I'm saying? You're playing pickup basketball 3 nights a week. That's it. I think that's a major fucking problem. You know what I'm saying? In my opinion. When in reality, it's like if you are going to sign up for the program, and then when the program's over, it's straight family time. That's it. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the way I think. What do you think, Johnny?
Listen, I think if the family is the focus, right? Like if it's work, family, I agree with you 100%. I actually think there's nothing wrong with, let's say, if you did play in a softball league and your family got less of your time. Like I believe in, and I can just speak from my perspective, that me time, space, me time, whether I ever have a family or I don't, I'm always going to need that. So it would have to be like work. I'd have to have some me time and then family. That's how I'm wired. So I'm not saying anyone's right or wrong. I just think people are wired different.
Sure.
Yeah.
Somehow you still fit 24 hours of work in, John, and me time, though.
Yeah.
All right, next question.
All right. All right.
Martians masturbating. My favorite thing so far. Go.
In a competitive corporate environment, do you have any tips for finding a way to find balance where you're still competing to be the best, yet are able to form good relationships and not step on anyone's toes?
If you want to be the best in a corporate environment, the thing you probably have to be best at is forming good relationships. Because in a corporate environment, it's a good old boys club, period. And the way you rise up isn't always outperforming others. It's performing when the people who have the ability to allow upward mobility for you see it. And then it's building relationships with those people and making you their guy. So a corporate environment is all about relationships, but it's about the right relationships. It's not about building the relationships with peers. It's about building the relationships with people that can give you upward mobility. So you have to shine when their eyes are on you, and then you have to go follow up and build that relationship. Then you got to jump them, move on to the next, jump them. But relationships is numero uno in a corporate environment.
It's an eerie balance of looking like a boss when it's time, but not fucking making the next guy look so bad that he's pulling down the progress, right, John? It's like because I never really worked in a corporate environment except for the one that became a corporate environment. It still was different than for me, but at the end of the day, what I would see other people in the organization is like, I had a friend, Dustin, that worked with me before back in MP, and like he would try to not make the executives look bad, but when it was his time to shine, he killed it every time. And so the first guy I grabbed when it was time to go fix GNC was Dustin. Hey, you know what? Come on with me. Boom. And the whole, so it's like he had to play that role better because, quite frankly, he probably should have been the CEO even over me. He had way better skills than I did at that stuff. And so it's like he played it at the right, but at the end of the day, because he didn't make friends with the right people, I wasn't necessarily the right guy. It held him down from an executive standpoint. So there's a weird balance. Even though he was probably the most skilled person, I believe, in my whole organization, and I would always go to bat for him, but I was the only one praising his thing because everyone else was either scared of him or intimidated by his skill.
Right.
I've always said that since I was there.
You got to follow the power structure.
Yeah,
you have to understand it, and that's like your road. And
Yes.
I think you got to smoke your peers when they're watching, but never smoke their ideas. If they're above you,
Yes.
you can't smoke their ideas, but you got to destroy your peers and let them see it. And then if you get to their level, you got to destroy them, and then
So basically, he played the program a little wrong.
his program was a little off.
It was a little off. The skills were there, and I saw it happening. But he picked the guy with the big squat, but maybe not the most power.
A business that don't get you paid.
It doesn't get you
Yeah.
paid usually.
Hey, as soon as you asked the question, I was like, man, this ain't a question for me. Hey, because I got one piece of advice. Man, fuck those motherfuckers. Step on their toes, bully them. But that's not the right advice for the environment that you're in.
But
So-
when you're the one running stuff, it's kind of hard to identify with that.
No,
if you're not really in it.
But when I heard Johnny started off, Johnny gave context to it. You know what I'm saying? So like, as soon as he's talked about so my brain probably cut off when he said compete, get ahead, and like I just know you have to step on people's toes. Like whether you think you're doing it in a nice way, classy way, smooth way, when somebody ascends, somebody feels like their toes are being stepped on. I don't care where you're at.
Yeah.
And or you're not even stepping on toes, you're in my space. You're in somebody else's space who wanted to occupy that same space. There's only so many spaces when you start moving up the top of the ladder, right? And so my head was like immediately when he said it, I was like, man, you have to you can't even care if you step on the motherfucker's toes. Like, you just can't care. Like, okay, I'm just handling my business. Like, oh, I stepped on your toes, my bad. Who gives a fuck? But you have to keep on moving forward. But when he brought context as into the corporate environment, and the context or the caveat that he put in there was, it's 100% relationships, and it is the gatekeepers. And then it made me think about,
All gatekeepers.
like, even though I'm in business by myself, there's a corporate part to certain funding sources, certain referral sources, and if you don't, in certain court systems, right? And if you don't have the ass kissing skills, like you literally,
what it is.
that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? And please believe, when you're in them corporate environments, that's where you become like don't unconsciously be conscious that you're kissing people's ass. You know what I'm saying? Or you're going to events that you don't necessarily want to go to, or doing shit that you may not necessarily like. And so I think that's where my personality doesn't work really well. I try to stay away from that shit. I'm serious.
No, I
You
know.
know what I'm
That's
saying?
why
I
I'm
just was,
laughing. I've known you
yeah.
long enough.
Well, yeah, the corporate world's just a super game. So
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. So if you're kissing somebody's ass and you know it, then it's cool because you're gonna win. But if you're just kissing ass because that's what you do in the corporate world, and you have there's no strategy, there's no
yeah.
objective, then you're lost in space. But if you know you're doing it, then you're gaming the other dude.
Yeah, but here we go. To that point, 100%. I always talk about content and context. Like, just to put context to it, to that guy, if you gaming, keep on gaming, keep on doing your shit. But like me, I just was like, fuck that shit. You gonna I don't know. I just get tired I get tired of feeling bad for offending people. Like, fuck these dudes, man.
Sure.
Fuck it. You know what I'm saying?
Fuck it, Mo.
Fuck it, man. We competing against each other. That's cool. Fuck it.
Try to
Fuck
tackle me. All right. One more. Jeremy, you got one more for us?
I do. All right. What routines, structures, or disciplines would you recommend for people who started a business out of their home and don't have an office? So basically, what disciplines or strategies would you need to be effective working from home?
I'll start this one, Johnny. I liked working at home, and I never really had this problem. Some people would talk to me like, "Hey, I know you work at the house. Like, how do you not watch TV or get tied up doing this or whatever?" I would literally go in my office and just be there, just like I was at a regular office. I did that for 6-7 years, no problem. But I would make a hard kind of stop in my mind that said, hey, I'll try to operate the same way, meaning like I'll try to take lunch around the same time, even though half the time I'd eat at my desk. I will say, like, I would try to stop at 5 or 6, but because the office is right there, right close to everything else, actually it was more difficult because it wasn't as separate. There was no hard break
Separation.
to it. But if you're having a problem with that, or you just want to be out around people, which is some people, I know John worked at the house. He likes being out in the office more, around people and stuff. He had mentioned it multiple times. So, like, I think you know yourself, you know your personality, and you got to put some clear guidelines in place if it's going to be successful if you're working out of the house.
I think it's the biggest misnomer in terms of what people want. I think so many people want, oh, dude, I can get to the place where I can work from home. Number one, you have to be so disciplined you don't even understand if you've never worked from home. Number two, if you're working from home, you have to understand that human interaction is a human need. And when you spend all day, every day alone working, it wears on a part of your brain that you may not know exists.
Yes, sir.
And it's not natural. So if you are to work from home, I would say the biggest, most important thing is to have a structure where you get out on a lunch break, you get out on a workout break. You need to get out, because if you are disciplined and you work hard and 12 hours goes by and you're fucking working at your desk in your room and it went from sun up to fucking sundown, and then you're like, okay, now I'm going to go eat dinner and stay in the same habitat, it becomes emotionally unhealthy, and it can make you an introvert without even being aware. It can make you antisocial without even being aware. So I think human interaction, and I've worked from home for many years, and I've worked in offices for many years. I've done both, and I would trade working in an office 1,000,000% of the time versus working at home, because the value of teamwork and accomplishing things together and being like, we fucking did it, and experiencing loss and experiencing win, that's part of the beauty of business and a team, and that's why we call it a sport. And I just don't think you get to experience that when you're doing tasks from home by yourself. So I would just think about it a little more and maybe try it out for those people who are thinking about making that move fully.
I'm going to agree with you 100%. And I'm gonna go back to a story I had with Corey, and I'm gonna say fuck working from home. It's overrated. I think that's like when they sell you the beach lifestyle and your toes in the sand and shit, and like, oh, you work no time, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember calling Corey one morning. I was like, man, Corey, I got to go back to the gym just because I don't see anybody. And I got used to. Remember that call?
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, man, I'm in the garage.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on you.
Yeah, still waiting on you, right? But this was part of my reason for even going back to a gym, because what you say, people don't realize like your mental health through all this shit is the most important, just where your mind is at every day. And I was getting up, I was working out in the garage, I was getting my workout in, I was hitting the sauna, I was going upstairs, I was showering, but then I was coming downstairs to my dining room and I was working, right? And you would have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 days go by, and I wouldn't see anything besides my family or go back and forth to drop my daughter off at school. And so this shit will start to wear on you. Like, and you be like, man, why the fuck am I depressed, right? Why am I just so disconnected? And then you start to realize, like, you've created a fucking prison. And so social media would trick you to think that you're around people. You're not around people with social media. You know what I'm saying? And so then I start going back to the gym, and I can remember the original feeling of holding conversations with guys, and just like the small, like, subtle, like, oh shit, I'm back around people.
Yeah.
And I remember calling Corey. It's like, I just got to get back to the gym. Like, something isn't right. But then it's that you're talking to people, you're listening, like, just to even hear, oh, you got a new car, like, and laugh and
just
joke.
Small talk, man.
Small talk, talking shit to Haven about always being late, right?
Got that tire problem.
Yeah. Just yeah. So
it's
roast
tire
Let's
problem.
roast him with that tire.
Problem. Yeah, but I mean, just that shit is like that shit for real. And like, I don't know, like, sometimes I look at Corey, and I don't like to compare everybody's Corey, like your situation, Corey, because your discipline is, in regards to what you do, is not normal. And just the average. I'm talking about just the average dude. For if you told me, Reese, I'm about to go to my office and go home, and I didn't say, you say, hey, Reese, I'll be in the office for 6 hours, I would believe you can have the discipline to say, I'm here for 6 hours.
Well, I think the whole company previous to this was built with me working in the house. I was only in the office for 2 years out of 8.
No, but I'm talking.
You know what I'm saying?
I guess the point that I'm making, I can trust you, just everyday average Joe, trying to swing 6 hours into the office. That's a hard swing. Like, yeah. look how much discipline did you have to build to get to that place?
Yeah.
Most dudes ain't like that, man. It's just like, just like most dudes ain't going out putting up 35, grabbing 10 rebounds, and throwing 7 assists. Like,
and then signing with the Warriors for 5.3.
Yeah, then signing with the Warriors. They're not doing that, my man. It just ain't happening. So, and I guess that's what I'm saying, is that, like, for me, like, I guess the thought, I think all young guys are in their head trying to, like, oh, I heard you can work from home. I heard you can have a home gym. I heard you can have, this is what success looks like. And then you experience these things, and you be like, those things sound good and they cool, but working in the office ain't bad either. You know what I'm saying? Like, going to the ice machine ain't bad either. Being around people ain't bad either. Like, getting new ideas and stuff like that, that's not bad either. But we get this idea that I'm supposed to be successful, isolate myself, stay on a plane 24/7. I made a joke on IG today, right? I had a quote and I had a suit on it, right? And I said, oh, yeah, I got a suit on, so y'all supposed to believe me. Like, but we have these, yeah, right? So we have these. I
read that like twice. I'm like, what is he talking about today?
Like, motherfuckers have suits on, so they be like, I know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, but you see these pictures, and you be like, oh, you're successful. Like, no, like, just because you go to the beach a lot don't mean nothing.
No, it means you're not working.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing I would say about, if you have the ability, if you've had a level of success to where you can have the option to work at home, I would recommend thinking about it like this. Let me create my own office environment, right? Let me create an area where I have art and Corey has got his stuff, and I mean, you can create it, right? For you can go anywhere and rent 1,000 square feet of office space for fucking $1,000, $1,500. It's worth it to just create your own area and let that be your working space, because then you can come home and home is home. and the fucking TV
Yeah.
isn't staring at you, and the bed isn't staring at you, and the couch isn't staring at you. And even if you're not tempted by that stuff, like I was never tempted by that stuff, it feels like, oh, I'm coming home, and it's okay to fucking grab some food, fucking put on Anderson Cooper, and see what the fuck Donald Trump did today. You know what I'm saying?
I would say that I had a better hard break once I got away from it for sure, and I think I don't know, it's like one of those things. I think I was always being pulled into the office more when I was at home, where now when I get home I feel like we done put in the time, my brain hurts and I'm burnt.
Right.
So I do agree with that, Johnny. I like both. I'm starting to like the office more. We'll put it that way. Either way, segment 2 next. We're going to talk about a little bit about LeBron James.
There you go.
Because it is relevant, obviously, in time, but also just the business of LeBron, what's going on in general with the NBA. But I think we just talk a little roundtable about, leaving Cleveland. Does he owe anything there? All business kind of happens this way, ain't it, John?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I would say, and I know I normally kick it off, but Mo proved he had the most insight on this topic. So I'd like to fucking hand it to Mo and let Mo lead this shit because
I
it.
give you a few things that made me look at this thing differently. One of the biggest things and the most influential thing is LeBron's infatuation and respect, I think, with Jay-Z that people didn't factor in. And I see when Jay-Z moved out west, and obviously, him and Beyonce bought a $100 million house, and, he's out there doing business with all these young athletes. It just took me back to a time when we went to a game. It was me, Maverick, Maverick manager team, Rich. I remember Steve Stout, Jay-Z, and somebody else that flew into Cleveland. And I can remember after the game, LeBron was super pumped up that they had came to the game, but he was like an 18, 19-year-old kid at this time. And he was like, man, he was talking to Randy. He was like, man, see if they can get me a Rockefeller chain. And so I remember when he said it, how happy he was or just wanting to get a Rockefeller chain, right? And so he was always wanting to be next to him, aspiring to be with him.
Can I stop you just for 1 second? Because I think what we have to recognize here is it's extremely abnormal to know and spend time with LeBron James as a friend.
Yeah.
Could you speak to that for a couple minutes? Because we see LeBron, right? The most popular athlete in the world, probably the most well-known names in the world. Just talk about for a minute or two being friends with him for a period of time and what kind of guy he really is.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm speaking to the context, right? So it's like people who know me my whole life, and I can't say I know him his whole life, but I knew him before the major star, right? And so when I speak to him, it's like, we were just two dudes coming up or trying to come up. You know what I'm saying? At the time in that space in Ohio, for as far as athletically, I probably was the most popular guy. He would have been right there in the wings because he is a high school basketball player. But pretty much what you see on TV in regards to the personable, open to people deal, he's always been that guy. One thing I could say, he's just never been about drama. Drama from the street aspect of stuff. There was a level of me and most athletes that we feel like we need to be connected to the hood in some sorts, right? He never felt like he had that responsibility or need to prove that he was from the hood and had to wear this tough guy mentality. You know what I'm saying? But I've also seen where that has paid him dividends where he didn't feel the need to have that energy around him, right? So when you see him get into scuffles on the court or guys trying to fight him, and when he just naturally moves away, in a way that's naturally him. He's not trying to – that's him. You know what I'm saying? I can remember, just incidents where we would be – we was at a bowling alley one time, and you can just kind of tell the dynamic of the room of just dudes who was from the streets at the bowling alley, and it was me, him, Darius Miles, and a few other people. This was like Ricky Davis days. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
DeJuan Wagner. But I remember when these guys was coming around the street stuff, he just was like, I don't want no parts of this. We getting out of here early. Always had the foresight to just not put himself in situations like that. But to bring it all the way back, he was just just regular dude. But you can even tell he just knew that his talent or what he was doing was different. Like just the way he operated. When you talking about, whether it be security guards, car services, how he was treating himself, he was operating like a professional long time
Really?
ago. Like this was, and not that car service, but he was protecting himself. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know I'm worth
The way he
something.
moved around.
The way I move around, I'm not you. No matter how you feel about this, I'm protecting LeBron because LeBron's basketball career is everything. I remember Worldwide West, right? We had a party. We in Cleveland. We in the flats. I forget what club we at. I'm having a good time. I'm drinking. West come up to me and say, "Reese, man, you ain't supposed to be drinking." And I'm like, what you talking about? I'm just having a good time. In my head, I thought this was just a good time. And, I was like, LeBron, you want to grab something to drink? He's like, nah, I'm cool. You know what I'm saying? But his mind was so focused on, I'm getting prepared for the season. I'm handling my business. I'm doing my thing.
He was out being seen, but he wasn't partaking.
It didn't even like he was there, but this don't even bother me. This is not my program. I'm doing the LeBron James program. To get to what we're talking about, this LA move. When I seen Jay-Z go out there, when I seen Puffy go out there, when I seen people who I know he looks up to or looks to that he respects. When I see these guys go out to the West Coast and have fun, and then you think of a guy, right, and you think about this in natural terms, they said he's made, $765 million, right? So even if you shake that out after taxes, pay managers, pay everything, you probably got liquid $200-300 million cash money, right?
Well, that's without interest or investments.
That's
Yeah.
without
Paying off.
anything else. Just say 300 grand,
Right.
300 million by yourself, right? You get to a point in Ohio where you can't do too much with 300 million. You know what I'm saying? His social, you can do a lot. Like, so let me say that in context. You can do a lot, but I don't think at his level in his life, he's not looking at hard projects to invest in. I'm not looking at, hey, let me go grab, 5,000 rental properties or $15,000.
moves.
Yeah, I can still leverage my celebrity and make a shit ton of money. If me and you want to make money, we got to put our money up, go work for it, and do other things. He can advertise beats and make $50 million. He can go do that, and so where he's at in regards to being a celebrity and having the cash on hand, he's going out there. Then you put into the fact he owns $50 million in real estate between two houses. So who the fuck just plants $50 million in real estate in another state that I'm visiting? You just don't do it. You know what I'm saying? Go back to the conversation that he had with Maverick on Undisputed. He was complaining about buying a home in Vegas, right? Motherfucker, you worth $100 million. He said, man, I bought a home in Vegas, $1 million house, and man, I couldn't wait to sell it, and I lost some money on it, right? You couldn't have lost that fucking much. Even if you lost the whole million, it wouldn't affect you.
Yep.
But when he said that let me know that he's not about to plant $50 million in Los Angeles, you know what I'm saying, and buy two homes out here and not like, hey, I'm about to come out here. So that's where my thought.
And-
But
Go ahead, Mo.
I just want to ask a question that, if it comes off whatever, I think it's coming from the right place. Do you think there's a bigger movement or thought process because Jay-Z is such a thought leader, I would call him.
100%.
The
Absolutely.
thought leader of
For young black people,
for young black people.
100%.
And LeBron James is an influencer that may want to be a thought leader and
100%.
may become a.
He does.
Do you
Yes.
think there is a calculated and pre-discussed move
Absolutely.
by guys like that to say, hey, Jewish people run media, right? Jewish people
Yes.
run banking. We now control culture. That's our token.
Dude,
So we want to come out here and we want to start having black people control this industry.
Right, so we go, right? Even on a smaller level, right? Put like this, I'll speak to that first.
Yeah.
So the short answer is yes, right? So when you look at anything, when you talk about what black people control or what industry, right? There's no prominent industry that we're the employers of, right? When you think about music, black people don't own music. It's usually
Right.
owned by some Jewish guy,
Sports,
right?
music.
Sports, you're sports, and you say this all the time. Sports, you're just an employee, right?
You blow your knee out.
You off the books, right? But the good thing. So these are conversations that are being pushed, and these guys know that their voices are there, right? So why did Jay-Z get Rock Nation Sports? So it's like this, okay, you're turning out all these fucking millionaires from the hood who are uneducated, who don't really have the wherewithal with parent structures, mothers, fathers, uncles, or financial information, and then after 5 years, Jeremy goes back to the hood and he's broke. right? You shouldn't be doing that. We understand that, Corey, you're uneducated, but there should be a system to put you in, to advise you, and to basically hold your money for a lifetime. And I don't know. I don't know if they'll own an industry, but I know they own culture, and culture can produce, a shit ton of money. You know what I'm saying? In many different facets. And so, I would like to believe that there is strategic movement. So when you think about LeBron,
And you think, but do you think Magic? So Magic being a black, very successful
Very
entrepreneur,
successful, 100%.
post basketball.
yes,
He's part of the like. If you look at the three of those guys, that's like laying the groundwork for like.
Now,
You know what I'm
think
saying?
about this. You think about what Kobe's doing. You think about what Shaq is doing. You think about what all these guys. All these guys are heading to business, and now when you talk about these basketball guys, I was on the treadmill this morning. I promise you, I said there's not too many people, even Fortune 500 CEOs, and I don't even know, what it would value out from a stock standpoint, that are clearing $40 million a year. So you got just think about that across the fucking globe.
Right.
You got motherfuckers clearing, they're no older than 30. They're clearing like fucking 20, 30, $40 million a year.
A lot of them are 22, 23.
That's a lot of dough, bro. You know what I'm saying? That's a lot of dough. And when you start talking
I
about
would have
leverage,
needed some serious direction, man. Coming out the trailer, give me 22
but just think
million.
about this, right? And this is a conversation. So this is where these conversations happen with money. So, okay, we play for Golden State. We all play for 3-4 years. We all make 20, 30 million. If we just save our dough up and we go leverage that with a bank, and we get with a real bank, we can make fucking power moves in real estate. We can make power moves
Go
in
buy Manhattan fucking buildings.
we got money for forever, right? So if the direction never happens, if the advisory never happens, and so you have to believe on some level. And I would say right now, you can thank social media. Information is passed like immediately. So if before I would have had to go, John, I got to see you in Chicago. Make me a flight. Get on the plane. Get off the plane. Get a rental car. Go see John. Man, I can go see fucking John on my phone.
Yeah,
and John just if you subscribe, yeah. and John may be a real estate guy, or John may be some sort of professional. He says, "Hey, Reese, you want to come see me? Pay me $395 for this weekend, or pay me $3,000. You know what I want to do? I want to change my life, so I give $3,000 to John. Now, John is giving me a comprehensive plan how to start my business, and so." You don't think these fucking guys know that? Absolutely. And so when you have Jay-Z that comes on the song and say, when he talks about, why the Jewish guys in the world own all the real estate, now to have guys like, okay, like what's so important about real estate? So these conversations were never brought to black people. Right. So like why should I own real estate? What is passive income?
Right.
Or to even understand the mechanics of it. You get guys like, and I'm pretty sure you all don't see them, but Dr. Boyce Watkins, right? So he used to teach finance at the University of Kentucky, taught at Ohio State. And so he was like, fuck teaching at these universities. I'll just get online and teach. You know what I'm saying? And so you used to pay me 30, 40 grand a year to come to my university. Now you can just hop online and I'm teaching you the same thing. But then what I'm doing is I'm bringing the same teachers who used to teach on that platform into this platform. And what did he do? A subscription-based model. And so he's like, I'm giving you massive information that I taught for 30 years on a practical level. So he's talking about all of the stuff that you would probably give me information on. Like, so just how we sit here talking about stocks, boom, whatever. So even one day I hit him up because he was talking about me in one of his videos because he was a professor at Ohio State when I got suspended. So I said, man, when can we get together? He said, any fucking time. His platform is fucking ginormous, you know what I'm saying? But now you're educating people who have money, and now they know what to do with it. So you're talking about, how many transportation systems could you own? How many shipping yards could you build? You know what I'm saying? How many fucking, so you got Amazon who just said, hey, we're making regular guys delivery drivers, right? So the same way I made my money with trucking, Amazon said, we'll supply the truck, we'll give you the route, and we'll give you the commerce to move. You just get the driver. Oh, you can do this for under $10,000. So if we got $2-3 million, hey, fuck it, let's go buy 40 trucks. They sold a black dude last week 40 trucks. Hey, you got 40 trucks? Go ahead, get busy. See you later. You know what I'm saying? And so
you think LeBron and Jay-Z and
all
a
business
conglomerate that they're putting together, these high net worth guys
so you
can
got,
be
you got Beyonce, you got
better.
Jay-Z. So just think about this. Jay-Z's doing a lot of socially conscious shit, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so he did the Khalif Browder story, right? And then now, I don't know if you all seen yesterday, he's doing the Trayvon Martin story. And so I think like just the whole thing of everything he's been through, I think that when he actually, so like one thing you do one thing you do when you step and you start to be around responsible people, it forces you to break away from all the black shit, the hood shit that you used to do. I don't want to say the black shit, but it forces you to look at things different, right? So when I would start to get around politicians, I would start to be around dudes who were socially conscious. I'm like, man, you really can't think like a dude from the hood no more because that's not you no more. So when he had hooked up with Barack Obama, you get on these campaign trails, you start talking about the importance of voting. We start talking about the disproportionate sentencing with black people in the criminal justice system. When you start to get into this shit, you're forced to think different. So you can't go back to Barack Obama and like, yeah, I was talking about selling dope. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, you'd be like, it don't make sense. Yeah. And then you have a wife who's a fucking mega icon to women everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Global icon. So now you're like, okay, I'm so rich and famous and established. How do I take my influence and fucking influence the world, right? So then that Khalif Browder story was one, this Trayvon Martin thing. He got behind that whole Meek Mill thing, would help get Meek Mill out of jail. And now, okay, how do I change the condition of people? You know what I'm saying? Right. How do I raise the consciousness? And so that's just being responsible with your celebrity and your platform rather than, let me make another video saying like I got fucking 50 Rolls Royces and 20. You feel I'm coming from?
So really,
I don't know.
Going to LA because it's a bigger market, but it's a whole big.
It's bigger.
Vast,
it's
big
bigger than basketball, man.
Yeah.
So if you want, go look at the content of their whole Undisputed platform. It has nothing to do with basketball. Yeah. Has Ben Simmons, like what was the irresponsible purchase that you did? What do you wish that you can do over? You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
The content
that's
of
him
what
and Maverick leading that charge too.
Maverick is hosting it. Maverick hosts it. Chase sponsors it. But the whole platform and the content of the platform is all things speaking athletic.
Financial responsibility.
Financial responsibility. But opening up conversation, man. Look, I even give you this thing, right? So I saw Maverick after the Celtics in the Cavs game. I was up in Cleveland, so me, him, and Rich on the floor. First thing I tell Maverick, right? You can mark this down as a date. I said, Maverick, the story about LeBron doesn't need to be told. It'll be told every day for the rest of everybody's life. LeBron will be spoken on by somebody. I say, the story that needs to be told to everybody is the infrastructure that was put together to help support him, right? Yep. So I don't give a fuck how successful you are. There's always a team of people who take shit off your plate that allows you just to focus on that one thing. Right. Guys who have to focus on everything don't have the time to focus on basketball 100%. And so when you look at the team of people that they put together and just the responsibilities that they took from him and was like, here, right? So I say you got all these guys coming through AAU, NFL, all this, like these little leagues, right? And you have friends around who want to help, right? But everybody thinks that they need to be in charge, right? So if this is Jeremy's deal, he's going to be a professional fucking golfer. Hey, Reese, your job is just to control part of this. Johnny, your job is to control part of this. I don't give a fuck, John, if you can golf, motherfucker. We not here for that. We here for Jeremy. You know what I'm saying? But more guys just don't know that. You know what I'm saying? That you're not like
LeBron used to catch heat for having all those guys, but they all had a very specific.
They didn't know because they thought they were a crew.
Correct.
They were so put like this. You can do it. Is let's establish one thing. It's very easy to sift through deals because deals come through LeBron. That's not the deal, right? That's not even the conversation. That's aside. The organization that you hold on around him and to shield from him and to carry him and to say, hey, this is good, this is not good. And so then, just think about how much skill do you have to not have any trouble for 15, 16 years in the NBA.
I mean,
unreal. Do you hear where I'm coming from?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. So love him or hate him, Maverick has been the CEO. Or shared CEO with LeBron.
So I told Maverick, I said, I know that it's about LeBron, but for a broader group of people, the story that would benefit. So, right.
What'd he say?
I'm pushing for him. I said that's the only thing, but to do it in detail, but then to go out and to speak to people, to talk about the platforms and say, okay, Johnny plays basketball very fucking well. This is what he's going to deal with, right? So LeVar Ball did it in a more egregious and fuck you sort of way.
Yeah.
But what he did was put a business around his kids. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And how many more guys just don't know how to put a business around the commodity that they have.
Right. The business is the power.
Yes.
The skill on the court is not the power.
But here we go. So Johnny, I say this all the time. You can't teach nobody else how to be 6'8", jump crazy, and have that skill. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But all the shit that Dan Gilbert does can be taught.
True.
Everything that he does can be taught, right? On some level, you can teach it, right? You can't have the relationships, but all that shit. The shit that Maverick has, that Rich has, that Randy has, that Phil has, that all those guys have, all that shit can be taught. And so that's the teachable stuff, right? You think Jay-Z and fucking Beyonce out here touring the world without a team of people? Those motherfuckers have teams, bro.
Right.
Yeah.
They got teams of people who are like, yo, let us
They're a
hand.
huge corporation, each of them.
They're a huge corporation. So, I mean, to me, it was a full business move, and I didn't want to, obviously dominate a lot of the time. But I'm just passionate about hoping that they produce a film like that.
So are we as a black man? Do you think we're going somewhere that we haven't seen yet in terms of black people controlling industry, and is this the beginning of that movement?
You will never have black people control the industry. You will have a rise in an uptick in being involved in business, but just the power structure of the world is controlled by motherfuckers who have old money, and that's the bottom line.
But this new money will become old at some point, Mo.
But you
Because
still
it
have to
start-
control. You still have to dominate industry.
Yeah, I
You
agree.
still have to dominate. So a person, like, I'm gonna tell you like this. A person, I don't know who the fuck I was talking to, but he was talking about this, right? And it was a white guy. He said, look, and he didn't. It wasn't black or white. He was just like, but he was talking about people in general. I'll remember this once I leave here and I'll drive home, and I say this is who told me. But they said too many people are basically conditioned to think, let me get a job, let me be employed, right? Then he said you have another group of people who say, hey, let me be an entrepreneur. He said then there's another group of people who say, let me just own the industry, right? Let me just dominate the industry. And he was just talking like that, and I was like, that's just like a paradigm shift to even understand that there are, let me get a job within this, let me own a company within this. Oh, let me fucking, like, at the end of the day, Max Effort doesn't own the protein powder. Yeah. So or you don't own the like so.
Right.
Here we go.
Right. We got to trace the path.
Yes, you got to trace the path. So just like Warren Buffett was like, fuck it. 70% of the products in America are they use corn, and corn gets shipped on fucking trains. And as America grows and goes, we're going to use more fucking corn to create more fucking products because
Give me the trains.
America,
Yeah.
give me the fucking trains.
He reverse engineer.
You know what I'm saying? And so he's just going to gobble up industry.
So with MJ owning part of Charlotte, right,
Yes.
the team, he's kind of tracing the path back to the top, right? He's a black team owner, and it doesn't get any higher than that. So do you think with these guys making $40 million a year,
Yes.
that can start happening more, and all of a sudden sports, maybe starting with basketball, could be led by.
So, but it's not going to be because
Okay.
let's have a more blunt conversation. So this
Love
is so these other 30 teams. These teams will be the inheritance of some family, and these are 30 white families. And so, do you think when we come down, we have the opportunity to say, okay, we giving all these motherfuckers this money? You don't think a motherfucker's intelligent enough to say, hey, these motherfuckers might group up and try to purchase a team? Right, so what's going to happen is the barrier to entry. Okay, so you have to have X amount of votes to accept him as an owner to this team.
Yeah.
Right, and so we just make it harder for motherfuckers to come into our boys club. That's what I'm saying. It's so things have been established so much
Right.
from a
So
caste
long.
system. Yeah, so even if us three got money, right, and this is not even a black or white thing, right, but we're just talking about black people who would have a bunch of this money now. This isn't a black or white thing. You're talking about disrupting old fucking systems.
Right. No. You're right.
Yeah.
And these motherfuckers are like this.
Peace.
Fuck
They
you,
put all those
motherfucker,
things into
right?
play.
That's
But one of the best things that is equal opportunity for everybody is real estate. That is equal opportunity. Everybody got to have it. Everybody will have something to live. Property will get old. Property will need rehab. New property comes up. People will be needing, finding different markets, finding land. That thing will be open to everybody. And I think that's a lot of what these guys are pushing for. And, it just, like, I'm even happy we can even have these conversations, but these are the blunt conversations of America. You know what I'm saying? You think about hockey teams, you think about NFL teams, you think about things. Now, these guys can be becoming minority shareholders, but,
Shit, if I was LeBron, I'd have been trying to get equity wherever I was going. I think
That's illegal.
That it is.
yes, I read that. That was
I
the
was just
first
saying.
thing
I
I thought.
wonder why no one did it yet. I would have been doing it.
They like to state they don't allow, but who makes those rules?
Exactly. I was just going
I
to
was
say,
saying, motherfucker, if I'm coming to
why is it
LA,
illegal?
I want 3% of the franchise.
It's
like
illegal because
put
they
me on
see a
the
guy
team.
like LeBron, and
He
they
would
don't
do
want
it.
him to fucking say, the only place I'm going is whoever gives me equity.
Dude,
that
that's
means,
exactly
that means
what I
black
would've
guys
did.
get in the system.
I kept thinking about that.
So
Why,
here,
why
just
the
think
fucking,
that. No, here we go. No, I'm answering both of your question. I get in the system, but then what else did I do? I set precedent.
yeah.
So then if
Once it breaks in, it's a wrap.
once you break that in, so then Ben Simmons, I want equity.
Yeah.
And then next guy,
Ben
Joel
Simmons should
Embiid.
ask for equity.
Joel Embiid, I
Both
want
of them,
equity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then Kyrie Irving, I want equity. And then when you get a collection of guys who just say, "Hey, this has something to do totally different." You can bust up and break up one whole system that I believe is fucking illegal. One move. If you had every kid across the board in college football to say, "Fuck you, I'm not playing." Like just Saturdays, I'm not playing. Fuck your bullshit education.
Right.
Fuck your team. Fuck your everything.
Right.
You would
How are
stop.
you making so much money on me?
I'm tired of everybody, and these same motherfuckers who run the NFL collective bargain or NBA collective bargaining agreement. We don't need smart NCAA motherfuckers. Bring those same motherfuckers and let's get that deal happening, right?
Yeah.
You know what will happen, brother? These motherfuckers will get paid.
Damn right.
These
Billions
motherfuckers
would be held hostage.
Brother, listen to me.
Multi-billions.
You don't rotate them cars in the parking lots. You don't sell them tickets. You don't sell those commercials. We're talking about
jerseys.
billions.
Yeah, it's a racket.
We're
bro.
talking
The
about
TV
billions.
deals alone.
The TV deals alone. So you take, and there's 125 kids, right? So we're talking about between 125 kids, 100 teams. You do the math, 10,000 kids, right? That's the math, right? Whatever. If I'm wrong, fuck y'all, right? So yeah, even if I'm wrong, that's what they make calculators, right? But this is what I'm saying. You take these kids and you just tell these kids to not participate, and they say, "Hey, what's wrong?" And we say, Jeremy's our representative, and I keep on referencing Jeremy because he's across from me, right? He's our representative.
Scotty Graham needs to get his old program in line in fucking
Yes.
NFLPA. That's
Yes.
in college.
You just you put a bullet straight to the fucking college football program head, and you say, until we make money, we're not participating in these sports.
Yeah.
And every fucking body will be like,
They would move so
you know,
Somebody's
They
gonna
got
pucker up.
us. Yeah.
man, pucker up, dude. They gonna go to that bank. And they gonna be like,
They could
pay these motherfuckers.
All right, great job today, guys. I like where that conversation went. Some interesting areas, but it was cool. It was real cool.
Only this show could have produced that conversation.
Absolutely. You know, the show's brought to you by Design Crowd, John.
Yes.
DesignCrowd.com/biceps. And, you know, we already talked about the offer earlier today. We're excited about having Design Crowd. Design Crowd's supported podcasting for a long time, and now they're supporting us, John, which I'm excited
What
about.
I love about Design Crowd is, you know, the first step or one of the first steps of every business is getting your visuals in place. And now there's one clear destination. It's Design Crowd, and all your graphic, your visual needs live there.
Yeah,
You know
absolutely.
what I'm saying? It's a beautiful business, and I'm proud to have them on too.
Yeah, use that $100 that we offered to you earlier in the show. Lastly, can the podcast be stopped?
The podcast
can't
be
stopped. We're 9 minutes over. All right, let's do coal miners.